Hello, it's 2015, Excitement City. Yes, it's a new year. I'm not going to wish you Happy New Year because it's a bit late for all that now. It is the 27th today. So, you may have noticed on the screen in front of you is Native Instruments Massive. That's right, it's a new massive sound bank from me, Massive Darkscore V. Now, it's been a very long while since I last did a massive sound bank. Several months indeed. In fact, the last incarnation from the Darkscore series was nearly a year ago, Darkscore 4, for those of you that need help knowing what number comes before 5. So, let's just leap on in there and play a few sounds. This is the first sound set that I'm releasing this year in 2015. I've just put my website live again after it being down for a few weeks, as I've battled the European Union and their draconian new VAT laws, which really are actually quite stupid. But never mind that. Yes, so the new website is up. There's some interesting interviews with composers on there, Paul Haslinger and Greg Edmondson, if you like them. I do. There's also some new free stuff on there, and a few other bits and bobs in the blog, or blog, as most people call it. Yeah, so check out the new website. Tell me if you like it, and if you don't like it, don't tell me. I don't want to know. Okay, so let's head straight into playing with some sounds. We'll go through the type as they are. So there's a few leads for a change in this sound set. The Darkscore series hasn't had too many leads before, but this time I thought I'd add a few in. So let's have a little fiddle. So the good thing about moving back to Massive after quite a while is that it allows me to do a few more aggressive sounds again. Naturally, I then play a very unaggressive sound. So let's talk about how much I like its digital sounds, since we didn't get an aggressive one there. But yes, that's why we're doing Massive, because occasionally we like to use digital sounds. And Massive does them very well. It still does them very well. It's been around for a long time, and it hasn't been updated in ages. And but it's funny, going back to it after what seems like quite a while, mainly because it is. Yeah, I like old Massive. It still does good stuff. I guess it's fair to say that probably I wouldn't say it does terrible stuff whilst I'm trying to sell this new sound set to you and show you what it's all about. This is one of my favourite lead sounds from this sound set. Yeah, I think it's quite fun, that one. Oh, there I go again. Back to a new year, and already I'm describing everything as fun. But damn it, I'm an unadulterated lover of digital sounds. I know everything's geared towards sort of analog and organic these days, and let's be fair, I've done my fair share of those sort of sound sets and will continue to, because I do like them. But every now and then you just need something digital, something a bit thrashy and 90s sounding, I guess. And it still has its place. I mean, a lot of, I was listening to some trailer music and a few game scores the other day, and there's still quite a few very sort of digital aggressive sounds in there. quite often it's, you know, it can just end up being associated with the world of dance music, and I think that's a crazy mistake to make. And always, as is the case with Massive, it still has these rather wonderful macro controls, or the opportunity to use them. Obviously, they don't just exist out of their own kindness. I have programmed them. So again, easy on the fly. So if I just I mean, it's all... You know, they do what it says on the tin. Those are some fairly obvious instructions, but we'll have a look at maybe a bass afterwards to show a bit more intriguing use of the macros, shall we say. And Massive still does nice pads. You can't argue with that. That is a fact. A stone cold fact, my friends. And it always will do. Yeah, I mean, like all the great digital synths that companies like Roland and Waldorf put out a little while back, it's still very good at doing those lush pads. There's some really nice sort of subtle underscorey pads that play off each other quite well, I think, in this Sunset. So that's lots of fun. And there's little descriptions of what they do here, to a certain extent. Sometimes my descriptions are accurate, and sometimes they're a little bit colourful, shall we say. Rather sweet, I like that. That's scary. That's a very resonant pad, and the resonance macro is turned right down. Ooh, it's because it does that. Ooh, much mystery. And there's plenty of pads in there because, as you'll have learnt from purchasing or simply listening to any of my previous sound sets, I love a pad. Nice and creepy harmonic pad, that one. And we'll finish off with the last one, see what this sounds like. Let's play a little higher up. Delicious. Okay, so in the synth miscellaneous section, there's a few melodic sequences. Sounds a bit more like a bass line that doubles up as a melodic sequence. Let's have a quick look at what we've got here. Pulsing evolving synth sequence, that's what we're after. So we've got a handful of these melodic sequences, which are nice for just adding a little pace and movement to whatever you're writing. Golden Delta. And some of them have got a little sort of melodic structure put into them as well. Which, if you don't like how they are, you know, need them to fit in better, you can come into the step sequencer window and change the note parameters here. Or you can change the pattern here. I mean, it's a fairly 4 to the floor pattern going on there in 16ths. So you could choose to stick them in the background or throw them up front and build everything else around them. They work on a number of levels. This is one of my favourite melodic sequences from this sound set. I use this in my demo track, Protein Codes, if you've taken a listen to that on the website or on SoundCloud. So they're useful for having underneath stuff and what have you. We'll move on to bass lines now. Bass. This, for me, is one of the strengths of this particular sound set, and deliberately so. We'll go through quite a few of them, I think, because they're quite fun. There's a lot of sort of driving bass lines in here with quite a nice bite to them. So they've got that digital bite, which is still really useful for, you know, cinematic action cues, that kind of thing. Whether it's full-on pacey stuff or it's the subtler underscore stuff. So it's still really useful for when you just simply want the crunch that you get from digital synth sounds. A little play here. So you can push them, like cut off and shape and even mod off there. And if you bring them right back down again, take all that out of it. Then you've got this sort of the underscore side of them. So there's loads of dynamism deliberately built in there so that you can have sounds like this running in the background through a piece of music that just, you know, moves through a lot of different emotions and structures and themes, etc. a bit lower down. Ah, yes, that feels more like where it should be. I don't know why I felt like doing that with the pitch wheel. But it's done now, there's no going back. So here's a good example of how you can really push a sound. We've got tube, trash, clipper and edge. So push the cut off. And then bring that, let's bring it all the way back down, all those right the way back down. So there's loads of expression in those. There's quite a few basses in here as well. Let's see if I can recognise them inside the bass lines. I do wish you could more easily split up the basses and the bass lines, but they're never going to do anything to this browser, are they? I don't think so. They haven't looked like updating the browser on here for quite a while, so I think we're stuck with what we have. So there's quite a few. I've gone for some punchier basses in this one rather than anything too sort of slammy. Is that bass or a bassline? Bass. No, that's a bassline. This one's a bass. So as well as they're being useful for your modern cinematic sounds, for sculpting your own bass lines, there's that little nod to that kind of lovely synthiness that you used to get in like John Carpenter scores, for example. Okay, I haven't played that correctly, but you know what I'm getting at. Anyway. Royal Action, that sounds fun. Yeah. I don't know what I was trying to achieve there. Sea Bomber. Sea Bomber, that sounds intriguing. Ooh, no, that's a bass line, isn't it? Or is it? Or is that just wobbling? No, that is a bass sequence. That's quite a tight envelope on that one. As the actress said to the bishop. I can't believe I just said that. Why did I just say that? Okay, let's rinse this one. Gets a bit messy when you play it down low. So basses, yeah. I mean, there aren't too many of the sort of the slammy, dubsteppy sort of things that occasionally are creeping into scores these days, but there's some nice punchy stuff. We like a bit of a punch. There's a few more drum sequences than there have been in previous ones. I thought that'd be quite interesting to add in, because I don't know about you, but I like a sort of a synthy percussion loop. I think they're rather fun. Fun. There we go. I need a thesaurus. Most of that's a sort of a rattly, sort of hi-hatty type one, but there are some others that are just more sort of the full beat, like this one. So the macro controls here, you can take out the kick and the hits and the hats. Oh, where's it all gone? And then you bring them back in. And then on a few of these, this is the 8th macro is glitch, which does these rather interesting. Well, have a listen. That's fun, isn't it? Let's do it again. And it works slightly differently in all of them. So here's another one. Again, we can take out a kick, hits, hats, and push the glitch, which is rather entertaining. So there's another sort of hatty one. Hatty? Is that an adjective? Is that useful? Well, I guess it describes what I'm talking about. You got some 8-bit crunch on this one. And then, oh, this one's quite intriguing. Oh, let's play that a bit lower. So this one's got a bass line built into it. And there's, what is it, this one? Where is it? Oh, another glitch one, let's have another play. Is it this one? Maybe it's this one. Where are we? Beefy dirty synth break. Here's like a breakbeat. Ah, there we go. This one. This is quite fun because you can add the bass line in. And there it goes again. Yes, so some drums in there, which are enjoyable. Oh, an attribute there, that won't help. Okay, so, and that leaves us, we're now into Soundscapes territory. Not perhaps as many Soundscapes as I've included before, but then I was too busy making bass lines and beats and leads and stuff, so there you go. So as usual, the soundscapes, they're very digital, they're quite noisy, they're a little bit dark, and there's lots of LFO action going on. The LFOs are controlling lots of different movements, so they move and weave through the tracks. I mean, one trick that's quite useful, I think, where are we? It's global, isn't it? So at the moment I've got the project tempo at 80 BPM. Sometimes if you really want to sort of stretch things out and make things more ambient, you can set the preset BPM here down to 40. So half tempo, and it really sort of makes for a floatier vibe, shall we say. Yeah, we'll say that. I've just said it. So there are some softer soundscapes, certainly, as well as the usual. There's a couple of pretty violent ones as well, which I'll play in a moment. So this one's a bit sort of crazed. Slight sort of oddness to it. This one's rather fun because it sort of pitches in a few different directions. And then quite usefully, I suppose, for, well, certainly for the purposes of this demonstration, the last three soundscapes are all a bit sort of aggressively nightmarish. So depending on what sort of music you're writing, you could probably almost double this up as a sort of interesting bass line. It's a bit meaty. This one's maybe darker rather than sort of dark noise, but and then we finish with subreption, which is quite aggressive. You can play it slightly less aggressive if you're feeling that way inclined. It's velocity sensitive. Or force it around the models just to really sort of full-on attack. I don't think there are any sound effects, are there? Oh, there are! Ah, good grief. I'm a complete ninny. Yes, I will confess to being a ninny. I've done 4 little risers that can be useful for, I suppose, trailer stuff and also electronica when you're coming to the drop or coming out of the drop and going back into the track. Yes, so I suppose if we played them reasonably low down. And I'm playing another one. So they're not sort of perhaps the truly aggressive sort of trailer type of riser. But they can add some extra flavour if you want to just pop them in there. Yes, so that's it, I guess. That's Massive Darkscore 5. It is coming out on Friday, which is 27. Is that the 30th? I think it might be the 30th. Just in time for the end of the month. Hurrah! And as you can see, there's quite a variety of sounds in there. So along with the sound effects that we've just played there, you've got the soundscapes, the pads, the basses, the leads, and the drum stuff. And it is perfectly possible to write a track just using Darkscore 5, which is, I think, a little unusual for maybe a sound set for something like Massive. And I'm quite proud of the fact that you can. In fact, my the demo track that I've written, Protein Codes, just uses these sounds. I think it's like 14 or 15 instances of Massive playing in that track, and that's it. It really is just this, and tiddling about with the macros a bit just to add a bit of life in there and morph the sounds to fit better with each other. But that is, yeah, it's completely possible, and I think that's quite useful. If you like sort of restricting yourself to doing that kind of stuff as a sort of exercise, it's fun as well. Yes, so there you go. It's Massive Darkscore 5. It is it's digital, it's crunchy, but it's more about the crunch and the bite rather than the aggression this time. And that's how I've decided to finish the Darkscore series. This is the last sound set in the Darkscore series, which is what actually kicked it all off for me. Is it 3 years ago now? Yeah, something like that. When I released my first commercial sound set, which was Massive Darkscore 2, because I gave Massive Darkscore away free, and now you have to pay for it, because I've gone back in and fixed everything that was wrong with it, and added, have I added some more sounds in? I'm not sure about that, actually, but it's cheap anyway, so it doesn't matter. Yes, so there will be no more Massive Darkscore sound sets. That's certainly the intention, but that does not mean there won't be any more massive sound sets. Going back into it, I've fallen in love with it a little bit again, and I'm working on some bespoke projects which are using Darkscore. Not Darkscore, sorry, Massive, which is fun, and it's nice to go back. It hasn't lost its charm. It's still a good synth. For all that there are many new synths that have come out since Massive's heyday, I still find it incredibly useful. And it has got a good sound. And good sound is good sound. Doesn't matter what comes along next. If it sounds good, it is good, as far as I'm concerned. So, yes, waffling now. But yes, Darkscore 5, brand new sound set, 128 lovely sounds for Massive. And I hope you've enjoyed this walkthrough, heard some stuff you like, and fancy purchasing a copy. Great. Okay, I will see you again next month. Next month, I will return with Omnisphere, which, for those of you who have been following the NAMM announcements, will know that there's Omnisphere 2 coming out. So this is probably going to be my last original Omnisphere sound set. Horizon 5, that will be coming out next month. But enough of that. Darkscore 5 is where we are now, and let us celebrate that fact. Thank you and good night.